Thomas Partey back again for this show. We have not stopped talking about this guy all summer. And it's quite funny because 9 months ago in January, we did a tactical breakdown on Thomas Partey. And we never did one since. And a lot of football had been played since then. And the links, if anything, intensified. In fact, back in January, our guest, who I have recaptured for today, Mr. John Driscoll, said that there was effectively no chance we could see him in an Arsenal shirt this summer. Wow, how things have changed. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Tactical Breakdown series, a show in which we look at the players that have been linked to Arsenal, analyse them in a statistical and analytical way, and of course get the expert insight of a fantastic guest, of which I have one lined up as always. But welcome, hello, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world, and hoping you're enjoying the fact there is so little time left until we see kickoff tomorrow, 12:30 UK time. Arsenal away at Fulham to kick off the first Premier League game of the season. Absolutely buzzing for that. And if you want to check out my thoughts on that game, just rewind and go to the show that we did just over an hour ago on that, where we looked ahead to that game. We looked at the predictions of the lineups and predictions of you guys in our chat box. But for today's show, and for right now, we're going to take a closer look at Thomas Partey, the Ghanaian midfielder has been linked ever presently this summer, and we're going to look into his statistics and analytics and some graphics too. Stuff that we did do back in January, but those have now changed, and we've got even more insight for you today. But let's start off with the man that kicked it all off back in January, Mr. John Driscoll.
So 1 2 1 2. So I've done one of these on Thomas Partey before when the club was last linked with signing him, and I said that they should move heaven and earth to get him, and I maintain that view now. He is a tremendous midfield player, one of the best in La Liga. He's available now. He shouldn't be. Atleti should give him a new contract and they should try to keep him. So therefore, this would be the moment for an English club to steal in and grab him. The Spanish clubs at the moment are very reluctant to spend any money because of the situation with fans. The English clubs, I think, have got deeper pockets, deeper reserves, bigger TV slice of their money. Bigger slice of their money comes from TV than it does for the Spanish clubs. And so the English clubs are in a strong strategic position at the moment to sign players such as Thomas Partey. So what kind of midfielder is he? He is a central midfield player. I've seen him play wide when Simeone has basically employed central midfielders in wide positions, which he does because that's the kind of coach he is. I've seen him, Thomas Partey, fill in as a right back as well. All of that would be a waste. It would be a waste if he was just a holding midfield player, because he can run with the ball superbly, surge through midfield, surge past players. Not the most skillful of players, so it is done with speed and with strength when he does that. He's an aggressive forward passer of the ball, and he reads the game well enough to be terrific winner back of the ball. Not necessarily in La Liga terms. You don't see many big crunching tackles in La Liga. You don't see that many in the Premier League anymore. So that would be a little adaptation he would have to make. But he could do that because, as well as all those midfield qualities that he's got, he is also fast and strong, which is, I think, what you need to make that transition from La Liga to the Premier League. Because obviously the idea of the La Liga midfielder is this sort of technical player looking for little angle passes and all of that. Partey can do that, but he can also do what we would consider to be the more traditional English style of the game, which is moving around the pitch at speed, being not afraid of your physicality, winning headers, that sort of thing. He is a proper all-round midfield player. The money, yeah, it's expensive. But then top quality midfield players don't come along that often. He's 27, so you get the best of his years, really, if you sign him now. And so, you know, I would be, if I was Arsenal, I'd be looking at finding many, many ways to pay the money that Atleti want. And if you can possibly negotiate it down a little bit, maybe. I don't think Atleti are in the market for letting him go on the cheap. They're not trying to force him out, I don't think. They're just willing to not renew his contract, take that amount of money, and if I was Arsenal, I would do my best to get him.
Massive thank you again to John Driscoll. You can find him on Twitter at DriscollFC, commentator, host of the El and John's La Liga Weekly, which he does with Terry Gibson. Yes, I know Terry used to play for Spurs, but let's just put our pride aside for a second. It's a fantastic podcast talking about La Liga every single week. So please make sure you go and check out those guys. But yeah, 9 months on, John predicting in January that it was never going to happen, and things changing ever so much in those 9 months. And it's to the point now where it looks as if Arsenal can get this money in, this deal will happen. Aouar is kind of there as not backup, because I think that does him a disservice. I don't think it's as backup at all. I think they're looking at both of these guys, Partey and Aouar, to be the main guys to transform Arsenal's midfield for the next few years or so, or even further in the long term. Whether or not either of them have taken a march in terms of Arsenal's priorities, I still think is yet to be seen. I think Arsenal need to sell some players first before any movement is done. And until that point, we won't really know what Arsenal's priority still is. But it's unbelievable to think that we could be linked with someone as good as Thomas Partey. Speaking of which, what we're going to do is we're going to, of course, look into his statistics as we always do with these types of shows. And we're going to do that. And I know that we've kind of done a lot about Thomas Partey to death, but let's just recap ever so quickly, and then I'm going to run you through some of the graphics as well. So, I mean, defensive duels and winning 63.2 of 7.33 defensive duels is crazy. It's crazy good. Such a good for a midfielder that can play in not just a defensive midfield position, but further forward in sort of a 6-8, even into a number 8 role as well. 5.13 interceptions per game. 10.9 recoveries is fantastic. Yes, he loses the ball, and I'll show you why he does do that in a second, because when he is brave and when he does move forward, he's unbelievably good in that area. Passes 86.7% passing accuracy. Passes into the final third, 76.7 with a 49.4% passing accuracy into the penalty area. He's not a creative. He's not known for being creative, but his passing is still on point a lot of the time, and certainly an asset to the player himself. Looking at the way he dribbles, 2.32 dribbles per game is a high percentage for a player in his position. 63.3% of those are successful too, which is also strong. 53% of the 5.44 offensive duels being won in each game is also really good. But it's the key graphics that I want to show you in today's show, which are where we kind of deviate from the show that we did back in January. And looking at the way that this guy breaks from different positions of the pitch is what I really want you to take away from today's show. Picking up the ball here against Real Valladolid, and driving forward up the pitch and playing the ball through. It's just so key when he makes those decisions. He's intelligent in what he does against Valladolid here, and driving that ball through the press, transforming that midfield defensive side of things into a counter-attacking monster. And we need that against Arsenal. I always bring up the example of Leicester at home last season. They pinned us back in our own half so often. And what I feel that Thomas Partey can do is he can just drive you so far out of that back line. Another example here against Villarreal. This one's quite insane, in fact. Picks up the ball on the edge of the box after winning possession, drives further up the pitch past the yellow submarine and into the opposition half, in which he then sets through, I believe it's João Felix on the left-hand side. And it just goes to show this is the type of player that Partey is. The way that he can take the ball from one half of the pitch into the other is unlike too many other players you'll see on a football pitch. Another example here, this time in his own box, finds himself way further up the pitch after driving ahead, playing the ball to Morata in a forward position. But it's not just that driving that's part of his game. It's his long passing and his creativity in that position too from deeper. The way that he can spot passes, find players into like Vitolo here on the left-hand side, plays the guy through completely onside and through there. And eventually this does, in fact, lead to a goal for Atleti. Another example here, finds himself in space. Something that I've been looking at Granit Xhaka doing really well is finding himself in space. Partey does that really well too. Instantly takes the ball, turns, looks up, pings the ball out to the left flank again. You can expect to see Aubameyang running in behind some of these long-range passes on the regular. And it's his tackling ability too. It doesn't matter if you're the best player in the world, like seeing in this example here, Leo Messi running at the Ghanaian midfielder to find a brick wall of a midfielder take the ball from him. Another example here where he actually picks up the ball in the opposition half against Valencia, runs forward and strikes the ball perfectly into the bottom left-hand corner to put Atleti in the lead at the Mestalla earlier on this season when fans were, oh, what a day it was. Still fans allowed in grounds back in this stage. And it's not just that, but his long-range shooting, combine that with Xhaka. Like, you've got two players that can strike a ball from deep. And sometimes Arsenal have kind of lacked that. Not necessarily just the... I don't know. It's speculative, I understand that, but sometimes adding that little bit of edge, a little bit of unpredictability to smack the ball from range and try and get a goal from out of nothing, basically. And he does that really well. Pulls a save here against Valladolid. But it's just, again, another example of where this player has transformed himself for Atleti and for Arsenal. I just feel that this guy is going to be, if he does end up signing for us, which I am ever so hopeful for, being an absolutely transformative monster of a player. Let's get some of your thoughts on Partey before we wrap up today's show. Ismail says, in terms of accounting, if Arsenal can generate around £30 million in the market, they should be able to get both of Aouar and Partey. The real Janice is they are saying we have prioritised Aouar over Partey, but Real are now interested in Aouar. Rydog says, I don't think Arsenal will end up paying the full buyout, but I expect Partey to arrive. The amount of money we've offered him is way more than what Atleti have offered him. Thibaut Pesque is drawing comparisons to Michael Essien there, which I quite like. Let's buy him. Jamie says, man like Thomas Partey. Just felt like saying that, to be honest, and I don't blame you, son. Pramod N says, Aouar for me, it's more luxury. Partey is a need. Spot on, mate. GP says, hit that like button, guys. Definitely hit that N button, the like button. What am I on about? I think I said that numbered while it was on there. And our good friend Mike, who's always throwing that little bit of intelligence into the chat. I still think Mvia is better than Partey, but that's just my tactical nous. Unbelievable stuff. Top Techers says Partey drives with the ball similar to Vieira, just what we need, as good as Xhaka and Ceballos, and we lack athleticism and drive from the middle of the park. Yonic Max says we get Partey in and we'll see a change in Lacazette too. More freedom for him to be higher up the pitch in goal scoring positions. Masego says apparently we have bid more for Edouard, according to Duncan Castles. How reliable that is, you know, it's questionable, isn't it? Rog says we can't have Ozil playing him and Artery don't have the same playing style, and we can't play Will. He's too young, and we really need Aouar. I just think, for me, Partey is such a better player to bring in than what an Aouar is. Shumoy says, with Partey, and we may be able to switch to a preferred back four. Definitely so. Rydog says, I'm not convinced our finances are that dire. It's all posturing for negotiations at the moment. And definitely, I agree with that. And it says, as a Ghanaian and a Gooner, I couldn't be more happy for this to happen. Jared Carver says, of all of our targets this summer, Partey would have the biggest impact in getting us into the top four. Richie Hartnett says Partey would transform our midfield and would put my confidence up for next season. Some fantastic comments there from you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, as you always do. This could be your last show of the day, or it might not, because some news may be dropping later on this evening. We're just going to have to wait and see. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Please make sure you check out Driscoll FC on Twitter. Johnny's fantastic. He runs a great show of Terry Gibson. So make sure you do go check out his show. And fingers crossed. Bombard, do your business, Arsenal fans. You know what you need to do. Jump onto your social medias and bombard Mr. Partey with your support and your hope and your necessities to bring him to the Emirates. I'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, let's throw it in the chat again. Up the Arsenal.